Hello, I'm J.D. King, International Director of World Revival Network of Ministries. And I love talking about leadership, talking about biblical principles, talking about truths that are shaping the church today. And the other day I was driving, down the road, and I began to, kind of reflect on some of the teachings of Jesus. And there's a little passage that came to mind, and it really brought to mind a concept I think that's shaping our world a lot today. And if you go around, you hear a lot about fear or concern about legalism. Particularly a lot of young leaders and younger people in the church, worried about legalism, worried about leaders putting these rules on people and creating these environments, that are constricting, and they want freedom, they want life. And I understand. I'm a younger leader. I can understand a lot of those pulls. But sometimes we don't realize there's another problem, there's another issue. And again, Jesus has a way of speaking to both sides of the coin. He has a way to speak to both issues and attention. Sometimes we have a tendency to get drawn into one side of it, but he wants to pull on both sides. And I love this line he said. Listen to this with me here for a minute. This is from Mark chapter 8, verse 15. He says this, "Be careful, watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and that of Herod." Now it's interesting, when we read that line, we usually always just hear the part about the Pharisees. And we worry about them because they're rigid, they're hard, they have the rules. They're making people do all these things. The Pharisees, all these extra rules, all these extra obligations. And everybody says, watch out for them, watch out for this legalism, watch out for this obligation. We don't want that. But we don't hear the second part of what he said. He said, watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and that of Herod. Herod too. Now, Herod's a completely different story here. He's a completely different side of the equation. Where the Pharisees were into, law and legalism and harshness, Herod was just lawless. Hey, let's just do whatever. Let's just, have our fun. Let's just drink whatever and do whatever. I mean, he was a symbol of a lack of focus, lack of any kind of boundaries or rules. And it's interesting because we have a tendency to worry about one, we don't worry about the other. Here in America, we're worried about somebody telling us what to do, but we don't ever worry about being so free that we end up destroying our lives, causing disruptions and breakdown. And, it's funny, I think we need to do a better job of listening to both sides of what Jesus is talking about. He's warning us about the problem of legalism, of rules and harshness, but he's also warning us about a lawlessness. The problem today is not just legalism, but it's also license. We're giving ourselves freedom and opportunity to do things that are destructive, that will destroy our future. And I think we need to draw a little bit better on Jesus. And I was thinking about that as I was driving down the road. Watch out for the Pharisees and for Herod. Both are a danger. Both are extremes that can begin to destroy us. And I want to invite us in the church to be concerned about both of these areas, to allow what the Pharisees is doing, to be concerned about that, to be not harsh, rigid people that are just focused on performance. But at the same time, we can't be so loose and, so desirous, toward freedom that we're actually destroying the very purposes of God and the principles of God. And both of these are a concern. Both of these are things that Jesus tried to talk about. And I think we need to talk about them too. What can we do to avoid either extreme and to become this healthy, dynamic, godly people that really make a difference in the world today?